Sometimes, strangest moments are captured on camera that are too good to be true. You would never believe they happened if they hadn't been recorded on camera. Some people feel amused by these things, others are afraid, but surely no one stays indifferent. From a mysterious ghost that haunted a house to strange and mysterious videos caught on camera. Here are top 10 amazing and weird videos you won't believe actually exist. Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button to get notified every day for more amazing content. Europaea meticulodina. When it comes to the art of camouflage, few creatures can match Europaea meticulodina, a small moth capable of mimicking a dead, curled up leaf almost to perfection. From a mantis that mimics a harmless orchid to attract prey, to a caterpillar that looks like a snake, to fend off predators and birds camouflaged as toxic caterpillars. We've featured some truly impressive natural mimics in the past, but the Europaea meticulodina moth may just be the best one yet. Its resemblance to a dead leaf, curled round in on itself complete with tiny leaf-like veins is just uncanny. If not for video evidence that this moth is real, I could have sworn it was just the work of a skilled image editing artist. Europaea meticulodina is not the only moth that looks like a realistic dead tree leaf. In fact, there are quite a few of them, but it's one of just two species that can nail the look of a curled up leaf, the other being the amazing green rainforest moth. The craziest thing about this fascinating creature's mimicry is that it's mostly an optical illusion. Its wings may look curled up, but they are actually as straight as those of any moth. This living optical illusion spends most of its time on the damp floor of forests in China and Taiwan. The Conch Island. Conch Island isn't technically an island, but a mountain of conch shells discarded by fishermen in the same place over hundreds of years. Located just east of Anegada, the second largest of the British Virgin Islands, in the Caribbean, Conch Island is both a stunning tourist attraction and a testimony to the popularity of conch meat in this part of the world. For centuries, local fishermen have been diving in the shallow waters on this side of Anegada in search of these slow-moving, edible marine snails, and many of them have been throwing their large shells in the same spot. The shell mountain that is Conch Island is a result of their perseverance. Apparently, while these millions of conch shells make a stunning sight from a distance, they aren't that pretty up close. Scientists extracted some shells from the bottom of Conch Island, and, using radiocarbon dating, they were able to determine that they dated back hundreds of years. Man in Internet Cafe. A 42-year-old man in Shenzhen, China, was recently hospitalized with a stroke after the staff at a local internet cafe noticed that he hadn't got up from his seat in 50 hours. According to CCTV footage, the unnamed man arrived at the internet cafe on the morning of March 31st and never once got up from his chair for the next 50 hours. It was only on the evening of April 2nd that the staff checked CCTV cameras and noticed that he had been there for over 2 days. When they checked on him, they found that he was paralyzed, unable to speak, and suffering from incontinence. When he arrived at the Langhua District People's Hospital, he was barely conscious and couldn't move the limbs on the right side of his body. Doctors diagnosed him with massive cerebral infarction on the left basal ganglia and frontotemporal lobe, otherwise known as a stroke. It's unclear when the stroke occurred, but after checking the CCTV footage provided by police, doctors deduced that it must have happened at least 24 hours before he was brought to the hospital. Or vitiligo condition cat. Vitiligo, a condition that causes the loss of skin color in blotches, affects around 1% of humans, and is even rarer in animals. Ellie, one of the few known cats suffering from vitiligo, was born with a mostly black coat, but just 1 year after being diagnosed with this mysterious condition, her fur is almost completely white. Nicole, the cat's owner, found Ellie and her sister on a farm in Germany when they were only 4-month kittens. They were both in poor shape and in desperate need of medical attention, so Nicole adopted them and nursed them back to health. Both cats were black with white spots on their chests, which made them look like they were wearing fur tuxedos. But one day, Ellie's tux started losing its color. It was just a tiny white spot at first, but as months went by, her black coat turned into a black and white mosaic. Luckily, the effect is purely aesthetic, so it doesn't bother the cat one bit. A year after Nicole noticed the first white spot on Ella's fur, her once black coat is now predominantly white, with grey and dark spots. Despite the radical change of color, Ellie is a healthy, happy and very playful pet. Strange UFO object. This footage was uploaded on March 2019, in which emerged that appeared to show what looks like two plumes of black smoke trailing an unidentified object plummeting from the sky above Anchorage in Alaska. Initially, it was assumed there was something to do with the US Air Force, who operate a variety of military aircraft from their base at nearby Joint Base Oleander at Soon. But the mystery deepened when officials from the Federal Aviation Administration reveals that the object in the video was not an aircraft, and that it hadn't received any reports of aviation issues at the time. Experts would view the video believe a plane is the likeliest explanation, believing it to be a high-altitude jet airliner with a contrail behind it. But it doesn't seem to be moving. Some have said that it's flying away from the camera, causing a parallax, which makes it look like it's falling. However, Adonis Bo, who shot the video, was not convinced. He said, the object looked like something coming into the atmosphere, and other witnesses agree with him, saying, it didn't look like an airplane, or what are those jets? It was big, super slow and red, possibly an asteroid. To date, it's still unexplained, unless any of you know any different. Nightmare bats in backyards. Dozens of families in and around the city of Cairns, in Australia, have been forced to temporarily abandon their homes after flying foxes started dropping dead on their properties due to the unbearable heat. Cairns residents started reporting massive numbers of spectacled flying foxes dropping out of trees on Monday, when temperatures in Australia's Queensland region rose to above 40 degrees Celsius. According to animal experts, the nocturnal mammals cannot sustain an internal temperature of over 40 degrees, and with no way to cool off, their organs start to shut down, and they eventually die. Wildlife rescuers have been working around the clock, using spray bottles and drippers to cool off and hydrate the helpless creatures, but there's only so much they can do. The flying fox colonies in the Cairns area have already sustained heavy losses, and the number of fatalities is expected to rise for as long as the heatwave continues. But apart from the environmental issues, the massive number of dead bats rotting away so close to people's houses has now become a serious public health issue as well. Some people have reported several thousand dead bats on their properties, and despite authorities' best efforts to have them cleaned up, many of them have already started rotting because of the heat, intoxicating residents with the unbearable smell and exposing them to various diseases. Creepy ghost in garden. In this footage, a family living in a converted Victorian schoolhouse in a small UK town in Lincolnshire. Not long after they moved in, they had a notification from the Nest, the security company that monitored their outside security camera, to say something had been moving in their garden. After looking over the footage, the family was shocked at what they saw. After taking a closer look, the family is convinced the spectre darting around their back garden is a child ghost, possibly a former pupil at the school. It's believed the object was in the garden for around 2 hours before finally vanishing from sight. The family strongly believes the ghost has been disturbed because of the recent refurbishment of the old school that dates back to 1903. Furthermore, the garden apparition is not the only paranormal experience they have had at the house. They've also heard things go bump in the night and have been awoken by the clans of soldiers marching and the sound of children playing. What do you make of the footage? Something paranormal or something easily explained? Unbelievably stupid robbery. A group of 6 delinquents have been dubbed the dumbest robbers in Belgium after falling for a trick so simple that Dumb and Dumber could see through it. The unbelievably stupid robbery attempt took place on Saturday, when a group of 6 armed men walked into an e-cigarette shop on the outskirts of the Belgian city of Charleroi. They asked the owner to empty the register and give them the money. It was the middle of the afternoon, so the quick-thinking salesman told them that he had barely sold anything, and that if they really wanted to make some money, they should come back at closing time. He even tried to sweeten the deal by telling the robbers that they could probably walk away with 2,000 to 3,000 euros if they followed his advice. But what respectable criminals would fall for that stupid trick, right? Well, these guys did. After talking it over among themselves, the 6 men left the shop, and the owner immediately called the police. He told them what had happened, including the part about telling the robbers to return at closing time, but the police didn't think the men would be stupid enough to fall for that trick. They were right, kind of, as the 6 men returned an hour earlier than planned. They now risk spending several years in prison. Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button to get notified every day for more amazing content. With this being said, let's begin.